Okay. Da bomb. Okay. Sorry. It's a bit late because I was trying to set up the the little thing down here, the audio thing. I was trying to set that up to automatically update, so which it might work okay. But I literally just got it working like 3 seconds before I started the stream, so if it breaks, then... Alright. Yeah. Hopefully I'm audible. So, I need to start thinking about... Well, I guess I have already, to a certain extent. Start thinking about how the game's actually going to be structured a little bit more than just here's a big area to walk around with a bunch of puzzles. And I also, well, there's two things. I need to think about that, which is kind of a more broad thing. And the other thing is I need to figure out a better start area than the one I have right now. I've had the same starting area since, oh gosh, I don't even know, a long time. I could probably look in the screenshots and see like what's the oldest screenshot I can find that's of that area. It's been that way since January, roughly. Even I would say since last year, back when I had the old interface. Yeah, it's been that way since about this time last year, so about a year. Because here's some screenshots of it from June. Yeah. And it's pretty much exactly the same as that. And there's an issue, sort of. I don't keep track of lines of code. That would be a little bit hard to do because it's kind of like it's scattered across a bunch of files, and then there's stuff that I didn't write that's in there, and then there's some stuff that's just like defunct code. It'd be hard to actually tell. But is this like a whole album? No, it's just one track. Okay. Anyway, so the starting area has basically been this since actually forever, really. Actually, if I go back as far as I even have a screenshot, probably it's of something like this starting area. I don't have screenshots before then. But anyway, it's been like that for a while. There's the starting area. And I was gonna say that the issue is with these panels. Like, there's no real inherent puzzle to them, in the sense that, like, if I just clear everything out on there, then anything will work, right? Like, no matter what the state of the panel is, it's solved. So I decided to make it in like the first ever version I did. I was just like, well, I guess you'll turn them all on and that will be solving it, right? But the only kind of puzzles were these kind of puzzles to begin with, so it was kind of like, well, you just got to fill in the area, right? But the issue there was, then I kind of trained the player to fill in. Oh, did you? Must have missed it. I got a lot of comments on that post. Lot of comments. Yeah, there's one there. I thought I already responded to this comment. Let me non-spam it at least so that it goes onto the blog, and I'll look at it later. There was like another. Oh no, I mean I just missed it. Like I said, I have to manually approve all the comments, which I might turn off because I really don't get that many spam comments. But okay. I guess I replied to it, but I didn't approve it. Anyway, so I was gonna say, so I have this other mechanic in the game that's like where you can say, you know, that certain tiles need to be on, and certain tiles need to be off. So you can make a panel that's like that, right? Or you can just set it this way, right? So I kind of decided, well, I'll just do that for now, so that the starting area is another mechanic secretly. Like, so you think, oh yeah, I fill in, but then later you see the idea was that you would get to this area, and then you would realize that the mechanic was more complex than initially it seemed, right? Which was kind of cool, but the issue still remains that I had a whole starting area that's full of panels that involve you just filling it in, and that trains you to fill in puzzles. So a lot of times I've seen testers, if they get to a panel and they really don't know what to do, the first thing they'll do is just fill it in, because that's what the first puzzles they did were. So it's kind of bad. And I have to admit, I'm not entirely certain what I want to do for a replacement starting area, but it seemed like a good idea would be essentially to have a series of puzzles that are just a key image and a panel. So let me see if I can kind of explain what I mean. I guess I can probably do it in here. Probably need a different shader for the collision rectangle, but let's say we have a puzzle that's like a 2x3 that way. The idea would be that you'd have just a thing here that's just a 2x3 shape, or like let's say it's just that, right? And let's change the material here to white. Let's say it was like just white. You just had a white thing there, and that's on the wall there, and then you got the panel there, and then there's like a door, right? And so you're like, I don't know, maybe I turn it all on, and then you get another one past that that would be I don't know why all these are at 2. There's some reason for it, but I don't know. Anyway, why is this behind this? Oh, that's scale. There's your problem. Anyway, other than my technical issues. So, now, you know, the idea then is Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is, you know, the idea is then you'd have one that's like a shape like this or something, right? So then the next one would be like that shape, right? To just kind of have some very basic thing. But anyway, point being, let me show you. Hush. Let me pause Dropbox so it doesn't kill my stream trying to sync stuff. Oh, I actually didn't tweet streaming now, did I? Eyeballs are not that good. Okay, yes, to answer your question, I can make simple puzzles where you just specify a solution and it doesn't have to show you anything, right? And it can be whatever, like I can make it that if I wanted, right? So let's say I have one that's like that or something. I don't know exactly how to do it, but yeah. You know, I think I had a tweet saying that like I would be streaming in like half an hour or something. Yeah, 15 minutes. Yeah. I actually haven't listened to this music. I've heard this group, but not some of this music. So. Hello, Crofa. How are you doing? I don't know if I have a black tile. For now, I'm just gonna kind of do this area as like I don't know whether this black is being used by anything. That's my concern. I don't think it is. But it's not black, and it would be nice if it was. Just for the purposes of that, but yeah, I think to begin with, I'm pretty good. I'm trying to come up with a better idea of how to start the game, because like what I was explaining is there's no basic thing of there's no basic thing for these puzzles, like by their own self. There's no right solution or wrong solution, really. You know, like anything would be valid. So I have to specify something, which means it has to be based on something else. And I was trying to think of what's something that's like basic enough that I kind of just haven't done it, which is just literally do a set of puzzles that are just showing you like to do it that particular pattern, right? So if I just say, oh, okay, here's a puzzle where you do that pattern, right? That seems reasonable to do a starting area that way. Hello, Alan. I hope you're doing well today. It's going all right. I just started streaming, so and yes, Vigardino is correct that the art is just prototyping art. Like, I'm still basically in pre-production. I've done a little bit of concept art of more what the game will look like. um, which is more like something like this, or I just haven't done that much. That's another thing that's on the list of things that need to be done, is more concepting art. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, here's another piece of concept art. Those are not necessarily indicative of something you'll see in the game, but it's just me thinking about what it'll look like. So, thanks. I'm glad you like the character. I need to improve the walking animation. The walking animation is still like super first pass. It's like not very good, but it's doable. So, anyway, I don't know exactly what to put for the beginning, but these seem like they'll work. And I sort of had an idea. I just wasn't sure how to do it exactly. But I basically have two ideas for the start. One is the idea of having like single tile panels and you turn them on and off to power something else. So it's like when it's off, there's no power going through a circuit, and you can kind of maybe do some navigation puzzles that way. And then this was kind of my other idea. So I think, I'm not really sure how many to do of these, but I've accidentally duplicated this panel a bunch of times. Also not very helpful even dealing with that at the moment, so I'm just going to get rid of it because I can add it later. Currently the plan is to do the art myself, yes. I don't really see how it's going to be feasible to do anything else, so. Maybe I should start this with something like that simple, where I have like a single tile one. Gotta turn off all the power requirements on these things. Okay. Say I do a 1 by 1. It's just got to be turned on, right? Anyway, there'll be a door there. Like, I don't really have fancy graphics for the door or anything either, so it's just kind of a thing that looks sort of like a door. But yeah, I just kind of wonder whether that's okay way to start things. Let's see. Okay. Not really sure where to go from there exactly. Why is it not letting me select that? Is this just Unity being annoying again? I guess it was. Gosh, hate Unity. Still not letting me select. Alright, well, I guess I'm gonna have to exit and reopen Unity because it's being stupid. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing good. I'm doing alright. Glad to be actually working on this because I've kind of had to take some time off for other things. Really can't think of anything better to do than that. To just go like... I mean, I could do simpler, I guess. I could just do a like that and require you to do that. Just worry about making things too simple. I do have a day job, although at the moment I'm on a temporary layoff from that job, so I have time to work on the game. It's just other life things this past week. I haven't been able to work on it very much. I've done a little bit of work on it, but it's mostly just been kind of poking around and seeing what things I could do aesthetically, and I had a couple puzzle ideas that didn't really go anywhere. But yes, I work a day job. I don't have the money to work on this full time. So, okay. Anyway, my idea that I had, and I don't know if this is like valid. But the idea I had for how this kind of sequence would work. What's going on with this? Oh, okay. I had the wrong thing set. Anyway, so my idea was that you'd sort of have, for just a basic starting set of puzzles, you just have something like that, and that would solve that and open the door. And then you'd have something where it's like, you just need to put what's on there. And then I was thinking, probably, if I just have a shape that's got like an absence of something, then people would be able to figure that out. I don't know if that's true, but it seemed reasonable. It's just a way to make it a little bit more interesting just for a starting set of puzzles. See, then my thought was if I did like something like this, then somebody should be able to figure that out too. Didn't duplicate it properly. Anyways, this is all super tentative, but I feel like it's a better idea for a way to start than sort of training you on a symbol mechanic that you don't actually know what it means yet. Okay, so then my last idea for this set, which I maybe is the only one that makes it interesting, but was to do like, let's see, this. And I wondered whether or not people would be able to get that based on just inferring. Well, I mean, I appreciate your admiration, I guess. I'm not really sure what I should say to that, but I've worked on it for a long time, so I would say my progress is not great considering how long I've worked on the game. That would be the way that I tend to evaluate myself. But you know, there's a decent amount of game there. To play all of what's there at the moment probably would take about 4 or 5 hours. So for somebody who's new, but it's still all in super prototypey phase, and some of it's not that good. Actually, I would say a decent chunk of it's not that good, but yeah. For me, it's like, considering that I've worked on the game for about 2 years now, it doesn't feel like that much progress. But it's respectable, and I feel lucky in the case with this project that the idea is weird enough that it's not likely to be... it's not really likely to be more or less marketable depending on when I release it. Like, it probably doesn't really matter so much in that way. It's just whenever it's done, it's probably fine. But anyway, I think people would be able to figure out up to this point, and then I wondered whether people would be able to figure this out, because the hope here is that this is an intuitive thing. So I'll leave that for a second as an exercise for the viewer, and then I'll point to the solution, and I'll see whether anybody in the chat actually can figure it out. I need to grab my notebook. Let's see. Well, Alan, I need to know what X means. I assume X means on. Is what you're saying? On, off, 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 on. Okay. Alright. So then that's valid, because I kind of thought that might work. It might be intuitive enough. If somebody can figure it out, then maybe it's intuitive. I think, well, what I wanted to do was, because I have I don't know if you can see that well, but I have like some drawings of this area. So I had some puzzle ideas that I already wrote down here. So I still don't know whether to start with this at all or to just do this. It's brilliant. Well, I'm glad. Because I feel like this leads, maybe, and it might be fine this way, just to start with that. But I have one here that I didn't put here. I have one on this notebook that I didn't do that's... predecessor to this one, I think. Yeah, okay. So this might not be good, or it might be good, I don't know. This. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know if that should go before that or after that, but it's probably okay. But like if you can figure that one out, you can definitely figure this one out. So, but I don't know which one's better. But that one would obviously be, I think, that. Like, that's what that would be. At least I would hope that's obvious. So it's just sort of, at least the idea, I guess, was kind of how explicit. These particular puzzles here are just hard-coded, and that's mostly because I'm trying to come up with an idea for what's the very, very beginning of the game, and I can't really have, like, I have a whole bunch of different kinds of, hold on, I have to turn that on, but I have a whole bunch of different kinds of, like, mechanics that are symbolic and mean different things. I don't really use those ones, but like I have these ones, and there's different colors of those, and I have a lot of different symbols that mean different things, but there's not particularly a generalized rule here, and I don't think it's necessary always to have a coded rule. Like the rule here is more or less that there's a thing here and then you're copying it over here in some way, right? And it's supposed to be a little bit of an intuition thing where you kind of go and say, well, okay, what could this be? Like, how could I best represent that shape, right? And then you kind of come to this one and it would be kind of the same thing, right? So it's not a explicit rule, it's just sort of an implicit rule. I feel like this makes more sense to go after this one. Did the playlist stop playing? Seems like it did, which is strange. No, it wasn't very long. I thought it was a longer playlist. Play this, I guess. It's not gonna have the artists listed, but it's the same makeup and vanity set. Well, if it'll play. There we go. Okay. Sorry, distracted there. But yeah, this feels like it should go after that. I wish I knew how to get this Chromebook to not shut the screen off. I feel like the generalized rule, though, is really just that it has to make sense. It has to make sense, and it has to, or to me, I guess, and then it also has to, like, survive contact with the real world. Let's see, what was my original stuff? So originally I went from, it's basically this, but it was reversed. Like that. So I'm just going to do that just for the heck of it. Then I jumped straight to one that was like this. Before I actually did one with the black things. Am I gonna add hidden Fez references? I guess. I mean, I don't know that the Fez references would be in the puzzles, but well, somebody's pointed that out to me before, and it's an idea that I have already about actually I was writing down this last night some stuff related to that. It's not quite fully formed, but I had an idea, which is it's not really a Fez reference to have a alphabet in the game, but you know, because you can kind of have a panel and there's certain shapes that you can put on the panel, right? It might make sense to use that in some way. It would be like a whole thing you would have to learn, though, right? In order for it to fit into a puzzle, because you'd have to just like input the solution as a series of letters, right? But it could be a cool thing. I'm not really sure how to go about that, because you kind of have to think, okay, what's a way for the player to learn a language? And I'm again, like I said, I'm not really interested in making a Fez reference with it, but it's just an idea that I pulled from that, and I also don't see any reason that I should do the same letters as Fez, right? Plus, a 5x5 letter is very time-consuming to enter. Like, if you have a 5x5 panel, that's a very big panel, right? It's like, okay, it's like you can do like the whole English alphabet on a 5x5 panel if you wanted to. It would be overkill for most things, right? So I was more thinking of something that was more abstract than that if I was gonna do an alphabet. You know, put an album on because something came up. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Point was to test out this puzzle set. So I think like partly I feel like starting it this simple for these is just not gonna work. I feel like it's okay to have a set of puzzles that are about just turning on and off single tile things, and maybe that a platform moves when that's on or whatever, and then I stop it, and then I can like line up a bunch of platforms so I can walk across or something like that. Oh no, don't apologize, it's fine. I get distracted anyway, but I mean, that's kind of, if I was really concerned about about being productive, I wouldn't stream. Like, if I was more concerned about being productive than hanging out with people, so. Yeah. At the moment, it seems like, let's say I was gonna jump to kind of what Alan was saying earlier, Mr. Fourth Dimension in the chat, but if I was gonna jump to his kind of extrapolation of what the rule would mean, that would mean if, say, I did this, and we are extrapolating from everything we'd seen before. we would have to make an assumption about what that is. Does somebody in the chat again want to make a guess as to what that would be? Like based on the intuitive solution, I guess, what it would be. At least it seems intuitive to me. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a little silly, but... Interesting. Okay. I wondered what Alan's generalized rule was, but, because to me, what this would be is that. But I'm guessing your generalized rule has something to do with if there's a blank space and it's touching a white block, then it's black, right? And if there's a blank space and it's touching a black block, then it's white. I assumed that's what you're thinking. But I was thinking that you could generalize from all of these that if there's a blank space, then horizontally across from that is the opposite. So it's like here horizontally across from it, it's white. Here horizontally across from it's black. And then based on this, I felt like that was the case. But you're probably right in that sense that it's the generalized rule that you're talking about is a mechanic that I have in another area of the game, which is this mechanic. So if I had, for example, this here, we said that it was that and that. Let's see. Say on. Yeah, and then that and that. Then you're correct that that's impossible. Because these are... Now they're the opposite of what they are here. So in the case that this is white and it means on, for these it's like it's white and it means off. So for that has to be on, but you can't have any of the neighbors, right? All the neighbors have to be off. So that's what you're talking about, which is a mechanic in the game. There's a whole... I mean, that was how I was originally doing the starting area, but that's a whole area up here of that mechanic. It's a huge area with a whole bunch of puzzles. Yeah. Does the one in the sense that I'm saying with the dots have multiple solutions here, or just this? Because I was just kind of extrapolating that to, I think the generalized rule that he's thinking of is another mechanic in the game. Okay. That's kind of partly what I was wondering with this, is whether or not it could make sense this way. And I agree that it probably could equally make sense this way as this way. I actually don't have any method for setting up multiple solutions as like fixed solution. Like if I'm just saying that you just need to put in this, I don't have a way to also say, well, you could also put in that. take out the 1x1. Oh no, you're right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think you're right in the sense that I don't think it necessarily follows that this should be the solution as opposed to that. Or even as opposed to the general rule that you're talking about, in which case this is not really doable unless I take out, like, that or something, you know, because then I'd say, well, that's got to be on here and that's got to be off, right? Like, that's sort of what you were saying, is generalizing it to the dice mechanic that I have later in the game, which I could set it up to work that way, because then it would be oh, excuse me, that's got to be that way. Like, I could set it up to work that way. But I don't really want to do that at this point, I don't think, even though I have an area with that. I think it's better to do something else, which was more of an intuitive type thing, but I'm trying to think of what it should be. Anyway, let me end that. Is it? How's that? As far as I know, this is Mogwai. But I don't know, I haven't listened to this Mogwai album, so... I can't think of any other way to do these panels, because it's like... past this, I can't think of something, because there's always an inference with these, right? Like, here I can infer that that's got to be not white, because it's surrounded by it, right? And here I can kind of infer that that's not white, because... if it was, then it would be white, and this is not black, because if it was, then it would be black. It seems reasonable to infer that. I don't know if that makes sense, though, because nobody actually said that in the chat. Let's see. I had a puzzle idea. BGBGGWGW. What does that mean? Oh, you mean gray? Okay. Let's see, so black, gray, black, gray, gray, white, gray, white. I assume you mean this. Yeah. That's the puzzle for me to figure out what it is. Yeah, I guess that's fine, right? And that could fit in with the other stuff. Actually, the thing that I was about to do was to do one that looked like this, because it's one that I have written down, although it's an earlier one. This here. Yeah, it's ambiguous whether that's white or black, because it would be black normally, right? I think I overfilled this because it's like leaking out the seal. Man. I guess what you're pointing out is something that I didn't quite realize, which is that by trying to kind of mess with this, it's turning into the dice face puzzle. And so I don't know that I can actually take it much farther than this without it being just strange. It's really hard to tell what people are saying when they just throw out a bunch of letters. But let's see: black, gray, black, gray, black, gray, black, gray, white, gray, white, gray. So that's what he's saying, is just to take that and move that over, right? Because that's not ambiguous, right? That should be black and that should be white. It's intuitive enough, I suppose. But then it's literally just the dice face mechanic. Like that's if I just went and said -1, -1, 1, 1, then that would be the same puzzle. BG BG Ouija Ouija. That's how I feel every day. But yeah, if I just have that, then that would be the same thing, where it's like you have to do that. And it's interesting that there's a parallel there, but I would rather not like get to the point where I'm explicitly doing that. Because I already have that, and kind of the whole idea here was just to have something for you to do, to put something on a panel and know that it was right and it made sense, and also give you a little bit of creativity, I guess, where you kind of have to figure something out. But that's probably why I leaned towards that, is because I'm used to thinking about the dice face mechanic. So I think what I'll do is I will probably end it on that one, because that's like just the turn, and that might be fine. Because I mean, we're talking about trying to come up with stuff for the very start of the game, which doesn't have to be very hard puzzles. All right, see ya, Alan. Have a good one. Like the beginning puzzles don't have to be particularly difficult. They just have to be interesting enough, and they have to not teach me. They have to not teach the player anything that won't hold true for the rest of the game in some way. So it seemed a fair way to do it. Like, I'm even concerned if I went with this here and then did one that didn't have the black, that might be too much, right? Whereas with this, it's like okay because it kind of works in a way. That one does work, but it's kind of, I don't know, too easy. I don't mean easy to solve. It's too easy for me to just do the same thing as I did with another mechanic in the game. I had some other idea about this that I liked, but I don't quite have the thing that like cinches this and makes this really good. And that's probably good enough though. Should I do that or should I do like do this? I'll do it that way. It's just like my aesthetic consideration, but and you know, my initial idea was that that would be the first one you would get to, and so you would just kind of go through a sequence like this. Okay. The hard thing for me is like I want to like part of just what's going on in my brain, but I kind of want to have like at the very beginning, and it was sort of partly the idea here, was that you just have a couple of like panels that you turn on, and then that like powers up something. In this case, it was like powering up this thing here. But that's not normally how the panels work. Like normally the way the panels work is if they have like wires hooked up to them, then they work like, well, I've already solved those, that's no use. Normally they'll work like you solve the panel and then it powers up the wire, and even if I like unsolve this, that's still powered, right? So normally that's the way they work, because they stay powered even if you unsolve the thing. So I don't really know exactly if it's good at the beginning for me to have something that was not like that. Let's say that was like where I had just a tile and I could turn it on and off, and that would affect whether something else was powered. Like the wire would go off when it was off. So yeah, I don't know. But I like that, I just don't know. I feel like that's always the thing I have to be worried about in this game, is whether I'm like training the player to do something that's wrong. I mean, yeah, the wires are witnessy, but I also don't really know any other way than that you can communicate the requirement that you solve one panel before the next one can be solved without wiring them up. Like, anything else is weird, right? Like, in this case, it doesn't really matter. Let's say I have a couple puzzles and you can do them in whatever order. But, like, say this one, I had to do this one first and this one was off. I have no indication that what I need to do to be able to interact with this puzzle is solve this one, unless there's a wire from it to the other one. You know, I don't know. So I don't particularly have a better solution there. Oh my gosh. We never get any phone calls from anybody. It's always just telemarketers and random phone numbers and whatever. Hi, Mom, yeah. Cause I like the wire, but I just don't really know. Ugh. Like, my intuition about this is that it's cool to have something that I can turn it on, and then the wire's powered, and then I turn it off, and then it's not powered. But that causes so many issues if I make that the rule throughout the whole game. A pretty obvious thing would be, let's say what that does is open and close a door, right? Like when I solve this, right? That opens this door, right? Now if I was standing here where the door was, and then like I unsolved it and I closed the door, does the door like crush me to death? Like, it's an issue that's not just an aesthetic issue, and it's not just a nuisance problem, which is also part of it, which is that if I unsolve a puzzle and then I have to resolve it again if I want to go back through the area, then that's a nuisance, right? It's like, it would be nice to be able to just go mess with the other puzzles and not have to worry about whether or not I've resolved them all. But I can't think of a better way to do that, really. It just generally makes sense that they're solved, and then it powers up the thing. Can't think of a better way to do it, really. Even though that's cool, and I would like to do it that way, I would like to do it to where you can turn them on and off for other reasons, but that's enough of me standing around thinking about whether that's a good idea. The only other thing I can think of to do is if we're saying that, like, let's say, like, depends on how these are constructed. On my drawing, the idea was that they're just like a riveted thing. They're just like a piece of metal that's riveted to the wall. Then if that's the case, then you have the possibility of it falling off the wall or something, right? and that then you'd have to say like, okay, well, how was that riveted to the wall, right? That would be the concern at that point. It's not rotating those both properly. So I don't know whether the snapping thing would affect that. Okay, it would. Let's just say like it's fallen off the wall or something. Then you have to decide how it was there, I guess, right? Which is possibly interesting. You could still have little rivet holes for it. That's one way of communicating that. Let's say there were little rivet holes for. Just without outdoing the full art pass on it. Let's say like it had little rivet holes like this on all of them, right? And then you could say like, okay, well, that must have been like that, right? But yeah, as far as you know, maybe it's upside down. That was sort of my idea, is that like maybe it ends up being upside down. I already had actually another area in the game that I sort of was thinking of the same idea for, and it was it's over here, sort of in the discarded areas pile. And I had the concern, the idea there that like maybe this thing's been moved out of place. And I realize that's a really hard thing to actually depict properly. It's really hard to express how something was. I think in this case, because it's something that's supposed to be riveted down, it's maybe not as hard, because you can kind of be like, well, I guess it was probably like this, right? Anyway, I gotta take a real quick break because I need to flip a roast over in the oven, so I'll be back in a second. So I'm back. Yeah. It definitely does require something. I don't feel like it can be black though. Well. Interesting that, like, this shows up behind that for some reason. Is there just like a queue? Let's see. Yeah, that's the problem there. It's the queue. Now I could do what? Oh, intersect them? Oh, I mean, that wasn't what I was trying to do, right? I was just trying to see whether or not, like, if I'm going to be saying that, if I'm going to make some little bolts or something without going through the full art pass. Oh, that, I see what you mean. That it can be 3D, right? Well, the whole game's technically 3D, right? Because Unity's a 3D engine. It's just all flat, right? It's just all aligned to one axis. Although I've thought about whether or not the game should have some 3D aspects to it. It technically does support 3D, like the rendering mode that I have. Like, I can put a 3D object in there, and it'll work. And I actually have the player is actually sticking up, because that just makes certain things easier if I want to worry about sorting, like whether you're in front of something or behind something. Anyway, 3D would make some things easier for this game. It makes a lot of things harder, but some things might be easier. I really don't know what to do if I'm gonna make little bolts. Because they can't be black and they can't be white. They need to be like... I mean, I guess they can be white and black. Like, you could have white on the black ones, but... sort of my idea was that without going through, which maybe this is more trouble than it actually would be to just do the art, but I'm getting so many phone calls. Just to be fair, that happens like every day. Fair that happens like every day, that I get a bunch of phone calls from annoying people. Oh, does that stop playing? Yeah, if I do like this, let's say, and that's how those look. I'll see what that looks like. The issue is it is harder to do them that way than it is to just make a sprite. Alright, see you, Vigardo. Hello, Cramp. Doing 2D games in Unity is a pain in the neck. Never do it. Just never ever do it. Is this like bigger than normal? It is. I like 4x'd that already. Really, these would need to be like not exactly black, but gray for the most part. I don't know how the Unity 2D polygon sprite. I think there's some way to do that. Just not sure exactly how you do it. That is not. What? Create polygon. Okay. Is that really a thing? I guess it is. I didn't know that. How does that work? Oh, interesting. So is that literally just like it makes a sprite that's like the shape of a polygon? Okay. Well, then it does what it aims to or claims to. That's not particularly useful to me, but I was wondering though, because I thought there was like, maybe they haven't actually built it into Unity yet, but there was like some 2D workflow stuff where you could, you know, just outline a sprite and it would just build it out of the different parts that you set up. Just doesn't seem like that's here. Anyway. But let's say, let's put this in RGB. Let's say something like that, and then we can do like something like that, but maybe very basic thing would be to just tile the tile completely. Which would work. So I won't spend too much time on this tile, but that's fine for that, I think. And then we'll put that as let's see, starting metal tile. And that will be in here under environment art, puzzle hints. Sadly, I have to always change the import stuff because Unity still doesn't support changing based on, or it doesn't support changing the default import behavior. Center, sprite editor, wrap mode, repeat. So let's try pulling this in, adding a snap to it, and then we'll try just building these out of this if I can instead. And tiled. Okay, I have to set it to full rect, I guess. Ah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Ugh. That's something I need to set up because my snapping doesn't quite work properly with the tiled stuff. I mean, it works in the sense that I can do that and move it, but alright. I need another one of these. That's the white tile. So that'll probably work. Ah. Why is it putting it out as a tile sheet? So, I think that should work now. But I feel like I should be able to snap those as well with this. The issue is that when I pull this here, it's changing that because this overrides that. Now, I don't know if I move it down if it would work or what. Nah. That don't matter. So that's just something in my editor snap script that I can change. Ugh. It also, I think, works if I set this to the origin differently. Oops, not that. What am I looking for? Why did it only get one of them, even though it should have got two? What in the heck's going on? Oh, because I didn't actually export. Okay. should be like this. It's bottom left is the pivot that works. So that works, but it doesn't actually snap, which is weird. I think I'd have to set this to get the white one. So that would work like well enough for probably a prototype version of this area, even though I would probably want to have a nicer looking thing. I would do something like that. I need to turn off compression on this. And that's this one. But yeah, I do need to get that to where that works for these, to where I can snap them. So that would make it much easier to build out stuff using actual tile graphics. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do here, but sort of the idea was that, like, you'd see the tile down here, and then the bolts would be bolt holes on the wall, right? Where the tiles were. See if I can add another frame to this one. Probably something like that's tolerable, though. Yeah, that looks good. Unity. Add the third thing here. And then I can have something else here. I'm just not sure what. I mean, I like the idea of having like the shape on there, but I'm not sure exactly how to do that. It looks too dark for that wall. So the wall's about this bright. Oh. Forgot to, I guess I can do this. Repeat last export. Excuse me. That's all well and fun. Oh, man. Oof. Yeah, so this looked pretty rough there, but that's sort of the idea I was thinking there. I feel like those should be wider though. I guess I also neglected to clear those corners. Be moved up because it looks strange otherwise. guess I still didn't set that to full rect. Okay, gosh, how long have I been streaming? I feel like I've been streaming for a while. About an hour, 42 minutes. Alright, I think that is fair, but that also, I'm not sure how to set that up at the beginning exactly. Say, like, if I'm gonna build out that thing I concepted, it sort of was like this, right? I had one that was set up this way. Keep getting like an auto host thing that pops up. It's like not relevant to anything. I also need to come up with a better way for the wires to work. How did I even do that on that one picture that I had? I just went 2 crossed with the wire. Like, I feel like that's 2 pixels already. Yeah, it looks like it is. So that needs to be really... Calculate that. Only has 625. If I want something that gives me pixel accuracy, that's it. Let's start with like a very basic version of that idea. It's like it's roughly the same idea, but just done a little differently. I'm gonna have to come up with a better thing than this door concept, but This is my super duper basic version of the same idea. Without doing really any actual artwork or even getting this to look the way that I would want it to do. It's like, can I build a functioning prototype version of this idea? I suppose I can, so. So that's sort of let's make a functional version of this same thing. Except that the doors don't work for some reason. Not sure why that is. I bet there's something where when it sets the starting state, it's not actually getting like set properly or something. They're starting out solved. Oh, that must just be. Yeah, I have this problem, which I need to set up, but I think it's in the validator right now. But there's an issue where, because sometimes I like to set up the solution in game, and so I'll copy the component and then I'll paste the component outside of the game. The problem is part of the state that will get set is this, solved. Like if I copied it and it was solved, when I paste the component, it'll make a version that starts solved, and that's a problem. So I'll have to think about it for a second of how to do it, but I think right now it's not puzzle verifier, it's from the helper menu. Yeah, okay. So that should work. If I just run validate all puzzles. It should reset those to where they're not solved. So then the problem is if they're set solved, then when they come into a new game, they'll be solved already, even though they haven't. They might not even be in the right state, because the game doesn't really check the state on startup. Alright, so that's sort of what I was thinking. I'll have to set the camera to where it's a little bit out, but essentially I was just thinking that idea, right, where you just have two puzzles there, and then you can go out into the rest of the area. I don't know whether these should be like this or be like this or something, where it's like on the same structure, you know what I mean? Like they could be on the same pillar where it's like below it, rather than side by side. So then you kind of be like, okay. So that might be a better way to do it, is to do it as a right now you can't walk behind this, and this would theoretically be like a pillar that you could walk behind, right? Yeah, but that's alright. It's not a terrible idea for a first thing. And then it's just kind of building out the rest of this to where it's something. Now, I still wouldn't have these walking panels. I might need a mental break for a second. That's not terrible. To make a prototype version of the starting area that's more like what I want for the final area. I do want the game to start on like floating island like that, so you can walk around. I need to fix the collision code as well, because it's got some bugs in it. Like, in all likelihood, there's something here that will bug out. If there isn't, I'd be surprised. There's a spot there I can't go through, so there's that. But other than this little corner here, I actually don't see any really crazy bugs. Is there some way to... There we go. Close that. 'Cause I don't need to see all that. It keeps changing every time somebody likes one of my auto hosts like refreshes, and then it distracts me, and there's no chat messages or anything. Pretty much the same thing though. The idea was either going to be that you needed to do both of these things before you could get out, or just before your character even wakes up. kind of like the idea of doing it like this, and then you have like a series of pillars, and you have to kind of solve each of them. I'm not really sure exactly how that will work, but I kind of like that for some reason. I have to set it up a little bit differently to where there's like an actual background here. You can set up a skybox, but and then I just have a ground area, I guess, and then invisible colliders. Yeah, that's sort of how I'm doing it, right? It's like, really, it would be an island here, and then there would be just a background behind there. I just haven't set that up yet. Like, these wouldn't be visible, these would be invisible, and there would just be an area there that you can't walk on, right? So yeah, the dark gray is supposed to be walkable. It's like anywhere that there's not a collider, like one of these boxes, is walkable. I'm just, because it's so gray boxed out in prototypical design, like it's pretty hard to tell what's supposed to be what. But like, this wouldn't even really be like this. It's just me making kind of a functionally identical to what this would be, without me bothering to do the art right now for it. So you just have, you know, two puzzles that are very simple to the point that they're just, one has to be on, one has to be off, right? So you have to realize that you can toggle the thing. Then you go up here, and then you would get to this puzzle, and you'd be barred, I guess, by a gate or something here. I'm not sure exactly how it would be, but you'd have either a gate, or maybe just like, this would just be a cliff, and then you solve this, and maybe like another island floats up that's got this thing on it. So you kind of just go from puzzle to puzzle through here, right? I think, because I like the idea of making an optional puzzle here, I think like this one will come up, and like this will be broken or something. That might be nice, like, since this is broken, that the panel and the wire would be broken, so it would just kind of be sparking coming off the panel, but you could still solve it if you wanted to at some point. And so like the solution there would be that, but I don't have it set up yet. I need to set it up. I actually missed one. This one's supposed to be here too. Supposed to be the next one, actually. But that's probably how it'll be. It'll probably be like an island that is floating here, and then another one comes up after you've solved that, or something like that. I'm not sure exactly, but there's lots of ways that you can polish the the bare functionality to make it nicer to look at. So these would be like, it'd be some sort of pillar, you know, like a pillar that's got this at the bottom attached to it, maybe. Not sure exactly how, but and then at the top would be the panel would be mounted on something else, I don't know. Well, I'm glad you think it's cool, thanks. I'm trying to come up with a different starting area, because my current starting area is, I don't know if you've been following the stream or following development or anything. My current starting area is a thing that I've had forever, basically. And it was kind of like I didn't know what sorts of puzzles to have at the start, so I just made some puzzles where you just had to like turn them all on, right? And so you've got like different things, you just had to turn them all on. Pretty quickly that became a problem because there's lots of puzzles in the game where you didn't have to turn them all on, and there's something else you have to do, right? So it kind of trained you in a negative way to do something that you weren't supposed to do, especially because originally they just looked like this, right? They were just a blank panel. So you kind of, there's the issue there that trained you that if there's a panel that didn't have anything about it that you could tell, that maybe you just filled it in. But there's actually lots of panels in the game that are like, it's just a blank panel and you need to notice something subtle to solve it. So instead I changed it to where it had this dot on it, and the dot turns out to mean that the tile needs to be lit in a later area. But it still had the problem of it's because it's the first thing that you see is you see these panels with dots on it. It didn't really introduce the core interaction of the game in a clean way, and it still led to, I've still seen testers do the same thing. If like they come to a panel and they don't know what to do, so they fill the whole thing in, and then when that doesn't work, they're like, well, okay, maybe I'll think about it now. And so I don't want to train people at all to just think, oh, I just need to fill them in. So it would be better to not start with that idea. And furthermore, it's just kind of a boring way to start the game, so it's like, it's just kind of me trying to come up with a new way to start it. Like, so the most simple thing I could think of, well, there's two things, right? But there's nothing to the core mechanic that innately makes a puzzle right or wrong, right? You know? There's the only innate thing is that there's a thing you can turn on or off. So one idea I thought was maybe I'll just have like a starting area where the very first thing you have to do is you have like one thing that's on, and let's say, I don't know exactly what that would be, but it could be anything, but there's like one thing that's on that needs to be turned off, and then there's one thing that's off that needs to be turned on, just to kind of be a very basic thing of like, well, okay, I turned something on and then I can progress, right? And now I need to turn something off, like let's say it's a gate, right? Now right now my concern is if I do it to where, like, if I turned this back off, if this wire went back off, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but it would be a little strange in that I don't really use that mechanic anywhere else. Like, if you solve a puzzle in the sense that you put it into the right state, it powers a thing normally. Like, that's normally what happens. And if it's the first thing I do in the game, it kind of has a big impact on the way people think about what to expect later. So when they get to other puzzles and they solve the puzzle and then they unsolve it and it's still powering the cable that comes out of it, I'm worried that could seem contradictory. I don't know that it would be bad, but it could seem contradictory. Oh, let me start that from the beginning. Anyway, that's sort of that's the bare minimum thing you could have. And so then I was kind of thinking about like, locking the panel once you solve it is not really a good option, because sometimes you need to be able to experiment with the panel, because there can be multiple ways, like there can be multiple correct solutions to a panel, right? Based on what the stuff in it might mean, right? Now, in these early puzzles, they're all just one solution here, but anyway, so then I thought, like, what's the next bare minimum thing it could do? It's like, maybe I just have a thing where you just kind of, it just shows you some tiles, right? And that's the solution, so you got to put that in there, right? And then just playing with that as much as I can play with it. And then that might be a decent starting area. I could play with that more, but then it starts to be like this mechanic, which has a lot of subtleties to it, and has its whole different area up here, where there's a bunch of puzzles there. So anyway, that's somewhat rambly, but it's kind of important that it not lock into place as soon as you solve it, because there might be some confusion when you solve a puzzle about what exactly it meant. And if it's just like, here's a good example, I guess, like this puzzle, this solution works, but this solution also works, right? Like it'll work either way. And it's the same with this, where that'll work or this will work. And if you're locked in to where you can't experiment with it again, then you're sort of just left unable to, I don't know, you're just left unable to learn certain things that you might learn otherwise if you're not forced into its solve. So that didn't start playing. Now, the other issue is I have this second kind of panel here, which is one that you can walk on, and the way that these work is like the raised up tile like that. If you stand on it, you can activate it there, and then some other tiles raise up, and you can step on those tiles, and then you kind of have to walk along, right? So I think I would like to introduce that in some way, but I'm not sure exactly how or what's the best way. But it's more important that I introduce this type of thing. You can blast the doors apart. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, okay. That the door's destroyed when you solve the puzzle, so like it won't, even if it loses power, it wouldn't reclose. I guess that's possible, but I still would have to deal with the issue of, like, when you have a panel that powers the next panel, right? Like, that would sort of be the idea here, is that would power the next one, but it might make more sense to have the thing, like, raise up from the depths, which I could do. I could actually do that fairly easily because, well, other than these are static. If I unstatic them. Ah, no, it won't let me move it because the static is like collapsed it in there. But anyway, like the render for the game can handle moving stuff along the z-axis. So, like if I take this here, and in the top window here you can see it is actually a 3D object. If I move it down, like it moves down on screen. even though it's moving on the z-axis, really. So that would be fairly easy to handle, something like that I want to do. Three-dimensional. Anyway, it's beside the point. But, yeah, you still have the issue of, like, in this case, you have solved this puzzle, and then this powers up this wire, which powers up this puzzle. So then if you unsolved this, then this puzzle would get deactivated, which would mean that this puzzle would get deactivated, so I don't know. I'm struggling to think of a way to make that work. Other than just not worry about it, but I don't know. Anyway, why is this not playing? There we go. I'm going to take a brief break, and then I will probably come back and try to integrate this in here, which won't take that long, and maybe think a little bit about what I want to do as far as introducing the walk-around puzzles, or if I want to rebuild this to be more aesthetically close to what it'll finally be, because I do really need to start thinking about moving in that direction. Because the game's been gray box like this for about 2 years, and it's there's just a lot of questions I can't answer in the gray box version of it. Anyway, so I will be back in a minute or two. Alright, I'm back. Let's see, so I was thinking about still have no idea about, like, I don't think that this actual starting area is going to be what is going to be there. I just realized I forgot to take the garbage to the dump today. Well, I'll get over that. Let's see. I thought I would pull that start area into the game. I thought I had a version of that with layers. Maybe I don't. Let's see, what are the ACE files here? Oh, here it is. Okay. So I thought I might pull that in because I have the layered version of it, so it's theoretically possible for me to pull that in. Just as a test to see what it would look like, I guess, in the game if I built it out that way. Let's say if I put that in, let's get rid of that old player sprite there. So let's just save that as an image in there. And let's make a folder that's starting area. And let's see. Island test. We'll put that in there as a ping. That is a nice thing about doing a 2D game in Unity, is I literally can just paint the whole scene and just put it in there. I can just import it directly and I don't have to worry about anything. But, I can just pull it in like that, you know. So that's cool in that way. So I thought I might just see what that looks like. I think these are too big compared to the ones on the image, but I don't know. Test. Because doing an art test is not a bad idea. I think it's still bilinear filtered, so turn that off for one thing. So let's see what that looks like to begin with. It's like that's one benefit, is I can just kind of put that in there. Yeah, definitely the character really blends in too much on that background. Ordering, definitely put it behind those. That's not horrible. Weird that is showing up behind there. It just feels like centering those on there is not very easy. Although I can technically scale the panels. Like X and Y, I can scale them. And they will still function. It's a lot of work to do these kind of things. Doing something that's going to be polished is going to be a lot of work. Let's see what that looks like. Too violent for a puzzle game? Nothing's ever too violent for a puzzle game. That's the problem with puzzle games. There's not enough violence. Oh, there we go. See, that's weird, because it's just like they're just offset by like 1 pixel farther than they should be. Like that over here should be like that, and oh, I see. See how it is. Should be like that. So that's sort of what I was thinking there. Well, that makes more sense for it to be Y really there. It's probably fine though. I'd need to set up probably like sorting layers for that stuff though, so the panels actually show up on top properly. That's just me messing around with different stuff. Yeah, that's probably a good idea, as far as just putting them an area and it's like you have to walk over it to get there. Like there's no way that you can avoid walking over it. Is probably a better way to do it. Oh my gosh, where's the starting area? Oh, here it is. Still don't know what exactly to do for the puzzle, but it seems like maybe less of a problem. But anyway, thanks for joining Cram FF, and of course follow the channel if you're not already, and thanks for the kind words. Not really sure what to do with this other panel here, because I'm kind of thinking of it as one's on and needs to be turned off. That's the issue there, is that I have this like highlight color. It doesn't quite work in the way that I would want it to for this particular panel. Because I get like, it highlights, right, when I mouse over it, which I want. But I guess it will work okay. Like that. Setting at this. I'm just trying to test out making a functional version of this. Ideally, I think I'd also like to be able to have a wire that's a single sprite rather than doing it this way necessarily. So like the wire can just be a sprite image. Like if I wanted it to be this, then that would work. Instead of having to build that out of the geometry. I guess I can set up the color in the editor. Well, it's a sprite, so I should be able to change it if I want to. So I should actually be able to do that. I should be able to set it up like this. Oh no, it's going to change all the wires. It's not instanced. Okay, so I do have to change it here. Weird how that didn't update in real time. Let's say... I guess I never did build a version of that pillar without the wire on it. Say I do it that way. Roughly. Let's go to this and that's definitely going to have to get sorted. Or this will be on a layer. Let me go add. to be on a sorting layer too, but is there not some way I can set it up to where I can't select certain objects? Wire those up. So that would actually show up as properly what I'm thinking. Okay, so that would power that. But it doesn't unpower it because it's not set up that way. Which I could do that. I just have to add a boolean that sets that panel. The panel is solid that way. It looks to me like the tile here is like twice as big. Or not twice as big, but it's like one more pixel wide. Than it is tall. Like I didn't make them square, I made it I made it 16 by 15. The actual is, I believe, 16 by 16. Not that there's really a issue with that exactly, but still. What that was, I figured it out earlier, but the half of 0.125. 0.0625. So that matches that up properly. I've been streaming for a while. It's kind of dark in here. I should turn a light on or two. Turn some lights on. Okay. I think that that's probably what it should be like. It should be a square there, and I click it, and it comes on, and it powers that. And in this particular case, I think it should probably be that it outputs only if solved, and so that's just something to add to the puzzle panel. So right now I have this. If it outputs power, it does that. I just need another one that's like public bool only outputs power if currently solved. And then we go down to here. If outputs power, so we'll go bool should output equals false. And we'll, for this, we'll go should output, we'll go was ever solved. If only outputs power. If currently solved, should output equals was, now equals solved. And then let's go to the puzzle panel editor and add that as a thing underneath. Outputs power, so we'll go only, what is it? Only outputs power if currently solved. So that should show up here now. Outputs power, only output if currently solved. So then that will power and unpower depending on whether it's solved or not. Basically. So that works like that. This one will be the same way, but you'll need to yeah, cool. I like that. I'm really wondering if I can't do a wire that has a sprite attached to it. Instead of having a mesh renderer, instead of having even a mesh filter, it has a sprite renderer and renders a sprite. I really don't even care. Let's just put that there, whatever. So we'll put a sprite there. I want to know whether that will work. Sprite wire. Probably won't, but let's see. Appears to set the color of it, so That's interesting. So it sees it as unlit, so that definitely is working. But it's not getting power the way that it's supposed to, which is strange. Let's try pulling it from this wire instead. Hey! Hey, it works! It actually straight up just works. That's cool. That is very cool. So that means I should be able to export out this triangle. And this triangle. The way that I want. Just need to paste them in. Different color modes. Okay. The question I have is if they're actually the same, because they might be. Like it might be the case. Trim. Excuse me. So flip doesn't work, but rotate should work, right? Oh, that rotate the canvas. Good. Good. Okay, so I'll just put that as the sprite. Album stopped playing. Let's play something else. That will be sprite, single, full rect, bottom left pivot, no compression, point, filter. And we'll put that as the sprite. Oh, should be 16. That one's that color. This one lit is this color. That's pretty close to correct. If I just go back here. Here. Select this way. So, let's just see what that looks like, I guess. I don't really have a method for moving a whole area, but... Oh, it didn't light it up. Weird. Oh, it must still be connected to the panel. It still seems strange to me. It feels like it should work. Oh, it's because when it's a panel, it's not checking, like, if the input source is a panel, it's expecting the panel itself to output. It's like it's on the panel to do it. But if it's just a wire, it expects to just check the wire and see whether it's powered. So, instead we'll just do it this way. I don't know why I decided to do it in a reverse order there, but whatever. Oops. So that should work. My chat says that Abner is watching, but I don't know if that's true. So that one's not set up to unpower, essentially. We gotta hit that. I don't know that I actually need to do it like that. It probably needs to be set up like that. It just needs to start the other way. Oh, I just did it a weird way is the problem. So it should be like this. that's good. That's good. So I think that's how I'll do it, is I'll just have it to where it just starts on. I don't know whether you can start a panel solved, but... okay, you can. So it'll just start like that. I need to adjust that wire where it connects though. Well, that's an interesting little art test, at least there. I don't have anything that's like a parallaxable type object. Kind of what it feels like this area would need. At the very least, it needs to have a rectangle behind here that's like sky colored. I don't think I have any sky art. Other than this art gallery image. We'll just make that huge. Be like, it's the background, dummy. It's the background. I need to set up a camera rectangle there, though. Where is that camera rectangle? There we go. Unity was doing there, but other than being weird. Probably doable. super simple way to get that to parallax, I guess, would be to feels weird that I can't drag that from there. Weird. I didn't think about that. That the camera only actually moves at individual intervals. Yeah. Tripping out, man. Whoa. I just didn't want to make an actual background, I guess. I don't have parallax layers. I'm trying to even think of how to do it with the way that I have everything implemented. Basically, a parallax layer would just need to know about the camera and adjust its position based on the camera, I guess. Ugh. Even though the nice thing would be to just do a 3D game and just get it all for free. I don't know. It's just because I haven't got a haircut, I guess. That's why I've let it grow. Mostly this is just doing, because I just built out a new starting area here, and I'm getting to a point where it's getting hard to make some of the design decisions that I want to make without actually using real art. Because when I gray box out this, like essentially this here, okay, like it's just a weird room, right, with some weird stuff, like that's all somebody would see. But really it's supposed to be a floating island, right, with these things, right? And I tried to make these look like my concept, but I just decided, well, I've had this concept sitting around, so maybe I'll try to implement the concept to where it's interactive in the game and see how how that's kind of gonna work, because I just don't have any art in the game, really. I mean, I have a little bit, you know, like I've got puzzles that required art, but mostly it's just gray box stuff, so it's really hard to tell, like, how exactly I'm gonna do a certain thing until I have real art. So yeah, I'm just trying to do an art test, I guess. Man, there's just some things here I'm like, I don't know how to do. Like, say, something I might want to do here is, we say this is a floating island, I might want to have it, like, drift up and down, right? And it's like, I really don't know how to do that. Like, I do and I don't, right? The obvious thing is I can just world root a bunch of stuff and make an empty object that it's all parented to, and then just make the empty object move. But then I have the issue of the collision data needs to move as well. Like, right now this doesn't have any collision stuff, but you know, like, realistically there'd be like a collision, either series of rectangles or something, or if I get a little bit more advanced, then it would be like a, you know, a vector outline of the collidable areas. All that stuff would need to move too, and then the player would need to be updated to move whenever the surface that the player's on moves. But there's no concept right now of the player being on a surface. The player's just in a void and there's walls, right? I was gonna get to that, I guess, but thank you, Promoc, for keeping me off the tangent. But the reason that, for example, I might just not want to move the camera is, let's say the idea is that there's gonna be like another island, right? And let's say, like, what if I want both the islands to move and like move independently or something? Say I want the islands to move independently, right? Immediately I run into the issue that, like, if I just move the camera, then everything all moves at the same thing. But yeah. Oh great, I broke all my... I think I broke all my connections when I duped that. I don't know why. I have no idea why. Somehow I broke all the wire connections, it seems like. Oh, okay. I just must have not removed all the duplicates, so. Just gonna step back until I get to... I have no idea what's going on here. Anyway, yeah, I've got no. It's a hexagram. Anyway, that's working now. But yeah, you know, I can definitely, a thing I can do is move the camera. I think the camera's like so tightly controlled right now that I actually can't move it. So it's controlled by this script. Well, other than the issue there, that if I have to move the sub-pixel camera, not the pre-pass camera, to get that type of behavior. So on the plus side, that should, with sub-pixel camera, not have any problems, I would hope. Yeah, whereas the pre-passed camera is going to have issues. Okay, so moving the camera there would be fine, but anyway, the thing I was going to do was I was going to make it real quick. Just backdrop of sky. It don't really matter. It can just be a gradient with something on it. Ah, I canceled it. Awesome. Yeah, it's just a gradient now. We're living in the future. It's all about gradients. It's what I'm about, you know, man. Let's see. Let's put that out as a PNG. Just as a test backdrop. Right. Help! Help! Oh, okay. The nice thing about the gradient is it's not actually obvious that it doesn't parallax, right? So that works. There's no collision though, I can just walk off. Just walk off the edge. I need to set that as 16 by 9, just so I can see what that looks like. Alright, so this needs to be more like this big. Of course, the camera can render that kind of thing, so that's another possibility, is to build it into the camera. So instead of using a sprite like this, I can just put it in the camera. I guess. Gotta use that default Unity skybox, but you know. problem is then I get that issue of that it's attached to the tile-based camera, not the other camera. So I still need a more general thing. So that's gonna have to be like, I'm trying to think of how to do this. I'm just gonna offset it by the camera position, basically. So let's see. I think the camera might spit out a global somewhere. I don't know if it's this one though. Let's see, camera info. I think that's it. I think it says camera info. Alright, so it's start. Basically, I'll need to set vector 3. That'll be like root position. So that will go. And so then for each update, we will go. Transform dot position is equal to root position plus camera info dot. I don't think there is a structure for the camera position. No, there is vector 3 position. Okay. Easy peasy then. Position divided by, I don't know, just throw a number in there. Or well, let's put it as a thing I can edit. So that'll be parallax coefficient. So we'll go public vector 3 parallax coefficient. Help! Help! I don't even know what I'm doing. Can't divide vectors, so I guess I need to do it component-wise. Multiply times a fractional. Can't multiply that. Oh, because it's vector, so we'll just make it a float. Could do. Questions whether I want to have like the ability to adjust the directionality of the things there. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Why doesn't it work? Oh, that might be why. Hey, it'll work. It'll work. It'll work. It'll work. Yay! It's working. Except for the fact that it appears to be popping. I might not be able to avoid that though. Well, I'm glad you like the art, Abner. This is very, very much temp art, though. This is not like what this area will look like. Yeah, it's too early. You're right. It's too early. It is not beautiful. You are wrong. You're wrong. Colonel Sanders, Mama's right. I mean, is it an early prototype? It's a game I've been working on for 2 years, and the game's about 5 hours long, so it would be kind of hard to call it an early prototype, but I think it's worth thinking about how the art's going to be implemented at this point. So. It has like, the game has like 200 and something puzzles in it, so. But that's just a test, right? So that's a new starting area. Idea. And there's a bunch of puzzles in this game. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas, major areas. There's this area up here that is not done yet. I need to get back to working on. And there's some more stuff over here that we'll keep secret for now. You're welcome to tweet about the game. I mean, I have a blog, if you don't know, where I write about this game. Oh, let me just type it in here. Tap it into the chat. There you go. There's the blog for the game. I write about the game here, you know? There's some info there. I mean, it's definitely early. I don't know how long it's going to be before the game's done, but I don't think it's a terrible idea to be thinking about how I want to actually pace things. I'm upset about this parallax situation. My only concern about the about tweeting about the game and such is just that, you know, if the game takes a long time. Oh yeah, I mean, I've been working on it for a while. I mean, I wouldn't say it's that far along. It's still, I'm still in pre-production, so you know, the whole game exists in this form, and I wouldn't say even in that form that it's close to done. I'm just reaching a point where it's hard to make certain design decisions with no art, because like it's the type of game where little details about the art can influence how I think about how I want to do a certain puzzle, and if it's all just gray boxes, there's only so much I can think of to do. So, but let's see. I should show you the new start, I guess, Abner, since you're here. What I've come up with for this replacement starting area. I don't know if you know the old start, but the old start was kind of lame and had some issues. So I'll need to reset the game, which will take me back to the old starting area, but it's fine. Anyway, the old starting area was just like this, and you just had some puzzles, or you had to like turn on the panels basically, and that was it. It was fine, but it just had some issues where it was kind of trained the player to do things that were not what they're going to be doing for most of the game. I don't have a camera settings volume set down here, so I'm just going to hack the camera so that the zoom is not doing anything. Okay. So there's going to be like a start, which this will basically be that island. And more or less, you're going to have to like turn on and turn off a thing, I guess, or something like that. I'm not sure exactly, but it'll be something really basic that you just have to do before you can leave that starting area. Oh god. Of course my panels are not showing up. Is that... Okay, it's because the camera zoom script. Alright, well I'll have to leave the camera zoom script active. So I thought what might be better for some starting puzzles is like the only other really basic thing I could think of, because there's no inherent puzzle to these panels. It's not like if I just had a panel without anything else that you should know what to do. So I just thought, well, okay, I'll just have a thing that just shows you the what you need to put, right? But it kind of shows it to you in an abstract way. So you kind of have to be like, well, alright, I can turn things on and off, so maybe I'll turn those on. And it's like, oh, okay. So then this is probably what I was thinking how this will work, is this will probably be like a little island that you're on that has this as a pillar on it. It's just another little floating island. There might be like a bridge from this island up to this or something. And then once you solve that, like another little island will float up or something like that, probably. And so the other little island will have this on it. So you wouldn't be able to see that because it would be like down in the mists or something. It would float up. So then you just kind of have some basic puzzles like this. So then you get to these ones, which are dark. So you kind of have to infer that that's not going to work. So maybe you do the others, right? And then this is just kind of a variation of that, right? It's like, okay, maybe I do the others. So then we get to this one that's, again, like these will be like little islands that float up as you're going through here. And so this one, you've got lit here and dark here, and you kind of just have to be like, well, what's that and what's that? And just sort of infer that maybe it's that, right? Then I think what's going to happen is this last little island is going to float up, and then like they would all have like a little wire or something that's running down and to the next island or something to power the thing. But then this one's wire that's coming out of it will just be like sparking, and the panel here, like this, is kind of destroyed. And so at this point, I think that comes up, and I'm not sure exactly, but I was thinking that this would be broken, and so you don't actually have to do it. If you don't want to, you can just go ahead and leave. But it was a variation that I liked on this idea, and it's certainly doable. Like, it's certainly solvable. It's just, I thought for a starting area it might be too much to expect somebody to figure out what it would be. But anyway, that one would be like that. I don't actually have the solution programmed in there, but I think that would be nice for a starting area of what the game would start like. And so then you would go from there, and I think, because I can't really think of any way to have you just navigate a whole big world and it not get annoying. You're probably going to come to an area that's just a hub, and from the hub you can warp off to the different areas. I don't know what you mean by too lazy to make a background. I might have said that, but I'm not sure under what context I said that. But the game's not going to be mosaic and abstract. The game Oh, the gradient. It's just because this is just a test. Like this is closer to what the final art style will look like. Somehow those have gotten offset. I don't know how. Those are supposed to be aligned. Okay, I'm not sure how those got offset badly. It looks like this one got moved over, but anyway. That's the challenges of trying to do this in here when I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. This stuff gets unaligned very quickly. I have to have the snap because it has to move from pixel to pixel, and you can move sub-pixely otherwise, so I need to be able to like move per pixel even if I'm snapping. I think that's right now. Anyway, yeah, there's gonna be final art like that. I just haven't done that much art tests. I would say that's partly because I'm lazy, and art is not my strong suit. But I've done a few tests. I did a test for. I've got a bunch of sprites here, but this area here, that's another art test that I did. So the game's gonna have art. It's just I haven't gotten around to doing it. And I don't know a great way of doing it. I was mostly saying that I'm too lazy at the moment just to make a background to see, like, you know, I was trying to make a parallaxing thing, right? Yeah, and this is sort of an art prototype, right? It's like, let's try to see how I might actually get the art to work in a way that's not terrible, because I've never... Okay, yeah. I just meant at the moment. At this moment, for the purposes of like doing this area here, which is a concept painting that I had, and not really final art because this is from the time when I thought that the game was going to be like 90% black and white, and I think it's not going to be now. So I think the game will be a color game, but there might be black and white areas in the game, but I really don't know. But that was like my initial thinking, was that it would be a black and white game for the most part, except for like important things or something that I would hint to you with the color, but I couldn't figure out any way to make that work without limiting me in a lot of ways too. I really don't know how to... It's a bad sprite anyway, because I just can't tell what the heck I'm looking at. Yeah. I gotta figure out how I can do this parallax stuff without running into the subpixel issues. Because, like, I already have a... You know, for the camera I have a... Like, this is zooming in so you can see the pixels, but I have a subpixel accurate scrolling that keeps the sharpness, like it keeps the sharpness of the pixel art when possible, but will adjust to make it smoother, right? So that the camera movement is not doing what that's doing back there, which is what most games do when they have like a subpixel moving object. Anyway, I really am not sure how to go about it, because my current setup for doing that is not. It's just not very efficient, I guess. My setup for doing the subpixel stuff. The way I do it is I have let me see. Okay, so I have this camera here, and that camera will move from tile to tile, basically. Like you'll see here that it just kind of snaps over on the right. And then I have another camera that is, I'll have to turn on the layer, but I basically have that renders to an off-screen buffer. And then I have this camera here that's looking at the output of the tile-based render. So that one always snaps from tile to tile so that everything's always pixeled perfect. And then this one handles the like in-between tile movement. And it's looking at a this looks weird, but it's looking at a quad that has a shader on it, and the shader on that quad handles the subpixel blending. Which works, but it has the issue that anything else that moves subpixely still gets snapped to the pixels. So this thing that's moving subpixely gets snapped to the pixels. So I can't really think of any way to do that that would work. So I can't think of anything to do for it immediately. Part of me wants to like save that for off-stream working on it, because it would just be me kind of poking around a bunch to try to figure out what's going on with that. Plus, I've been streaming for about 4 hours, and my brain is just starting to collapse in on itself. But overall, that's not a terrible amount of getting something done for today. Just to do a quick art test, which I can use to make a lovely GIF. And then I have this almost functioning prototype start area. I should probably wire up the panels, or at least put like doors there, because that would functionally serve the same purpose. To just put a door here. Yeah, I'll still wire them up, I guess. I'm glad that you've been able to stop by and join, because I understand sometimes the times that I pick to stream are not exactly convenient for everybody. So I usually stream later in the afternoon, and just because that's when I start to feel mentally awake enough to do this kind of work. But for a lot of people, I know that's like it's too late. they're all like, oh, it's time for bed. It's an island. It's an island. I could just put this here and just pretend that the rest of the stuff's there. Exactly. Like I said, it's very late for a lot of people. It's like when I start streaming is usually like 3-ish, 3:30. And so for people who are around my time zone, they're just getting out of work, or if they're on the West Coast, they're probably still at work in the morning. In the evening, they probably just are going into work, or they're getting ready for it. And then in Europe, everybody's like fixing to go to bed. So it's like the worst. It's the worst of all times. Alright, so I am going to... Actually, I don't know if I move the player, if it would do something weird to the start of the game. But I'm going to disconnect the old start and plug in the new one. Oops. Just let that be the start of the game for now. So that'll go off over here in disconnected land. I'm gonna have to move the player no matter what, so we'll just move it down here. I don't think it's at 0, 0, 0. No, it's not. So it doesn't matter. It can start wherever. But just never, you never know, right? Yeah, it's just, you know, I try to give people a relaxing stream experience. Alright, so that will function like that, and then for now it can just be hooked up like this, and that will be fine. But later it will be hooked up differently because I'd like to have a hub. I don't know if you'll warp to different areas, but definitely the areas are going to be in some kind of instance section, and you can warp back out of them and warp back to where you were. Like I would like it to work that way, because the problem is these areas get very big, and because the panels have to be big due to the art style of the game, it can be easy to either get lost, or even if you're not lost, it's just time consuming to get back out of the areas. So I think that'll work for now. For a very rough draft of the starting area, we've got this thing going on here. I'm going to put a camera setting volume there. And here as well. So when you cross that threshold back down in here, it'll change the zoom. Alright, and yeah, I think I'll call the stream at that. And if you're not already, you should follow the blog. Bring up a little window for me to post this stuff in chat. So if you're not already, you should follow the blog, which is taijigame.com, or taiji-game.com. I write stuff about the game there. You can also get a link from there to subscribe to a mailing list if you'd like to be notified whenever the game is going to be released. You can just put your email in there, and I will send you one email, which is when the release date gets announced, and another email when the game's released. You can also support development of the game on Patreon, which is because I unfortunately cannot work on this full-time all the time. I still have to work a job. So from there, from my Patreon, you can get links to some of my older essays, my YouTube channel, and some of my small released games. Really do need to have a better link to the YouTube channel. And of course, follow the Twitch channel where you already are if you're not already. I think that's pretty much everything that I need to dump on you unsuspecting people. I plan on streaming Thursday this week. I'm thinking I'm going to try to do Tuesdays and Thursdays for a little bit, but that would be this Thursday and then next week, and then the Tuesday after next week I will be flying to New York City, so I will be gone for a week, but that's how it is. So thanks for joining, and I will see you Thursday, probably around same time, 3 o'clock Eastern time, 3 p.m. I should say, but same time as this. And of course, the stream will go up on YouTube if you missed part of it. So see you all later.